Kurisu brought me into what looked like a girl's room. Everything was colored pink and made for the taste of a little girl. Yeah, we're in Uki's room. This was... Oh, that's right, this was Uki's room. The chef flora was on the side shelf in its little pot. This was definitely Uki's room. But why here? Yeah, what happened to futon?
お布団、今朝干したばかりだから、ふかふかなはずよ。
But still, it wasn't right to sleep in a girl's room when she wasn't there. Wait, that wasn't the real question. Then what was the real question? I didn't know. I didn't have the mental capacity left to think about it. Or perhaps it was Hypnos, the god of sleep, tempting me. I don't know why I need to look that up, that's literally it. A god in Greek mythology called Hypnos said to rule over sleep, the younger brother of Thanatos, the god of death. Huh, there you go. Well, it didn't matter. I just wanted to sleep. The desire to sleep was controlling my body and mind. As I fell into Uki's bed, I was surrounded by the gentle, mild scent of a young girl. It was a clean, sweet scent like freshly washed sheets. The scent made me even more tired, and my eyelids slowly began to... The phone. My phone was making a noise in my pocket. Who could be calling at this hour? I'm sleepy. Call me some other time. This is the last chance to get us to wake up. But the phone didn't stop ringing no matter how long I waited. They just wouldn't stop, and even though my mind was still hazy, it felt like I had no choice but to pick up the phone. The name on the display was... That's right. So she'd seen my call and finally decided to call back? That's right. I had to find out who she is. I tried to move my fingers to tap the call icon, but my body felt far heavier than it should. I just needed to move my finger a little, but it was like my body belonged to someone else. Or she might just hang up. But it was like my body was paralyzed and it wouldn't move. It was like I was in a dream. A dream? But then, who was dreaming? No, that didn't matter. I needed to pick up the phone. If I didn't hurry, she'd hang up. Hurry. Hurry. I put all my strength into my fingertip and finally was able to answer the call. I'm actually surprised. My voice was so exhausted that it was hard to believe those were my own words. Even as I talked, it felt like I was going to be dragged into the forest of sleep. I was too out of it to even tell whose voice it was on the phone. Yeah, this is the last chance, I think. This is so stressful. Is that Kunosato? Shinjo? I couldn't even tell who was saying what anymore. I was falling into the abyss of sleep. I could hear desperate cries from very close and from far away, but it was amazing how little it seemed to matter. The gentle light enveloped me, and I fell asleep. Oh, this sucks! This is the worst! Where am I? Huh? I was supposed to be in Uki's room. Was this real? Or a dream? A dream? Whose dream? Mine? I screamed as something suddenly came into view. Oh no! Tiny little boxes in the shape of a person. Dark red liquid flowing out of them. Oh, come on! An overwhelming metallic stench. Inside the boxes was... Inside was... Okay, I can't skip this. I mean, I know this is the butterfly path, but still. That's right. I... I'd been so angry about Yui's death. I gasped when I heard the voice behind me. This is where it changes. And then Uki saw the boxes near my feet and froze. Shocked, she looked at them and then at me as if she was trying to say something, and then she saw Ito. This is so weird. Ito turned towards me. Whoa, that smile. Uki looked at the boxes again, and then she finally seemed to understand the meaning of Ito's words. And then... Please do not loop. She took a half step back. And screamed. That flicker, what was that? And glared at him in fury. Do not loop this. The D-sword appeared in her little hand. Uki staggered forward, flailing the sword wildly. Ito had no idea how to handle the sudden attacker. Don't loop it. I got between them, and then... Don't even tell me. An impact. Pain. Heat. That's right. She stabbed me with her D-sword. What, that's right? I remembered. That was what happened. Okay, we're not looping. That was a flashback. So am I in a hospital then? I could hear voices. I could hear Serika and Kurusu on the phone. This is driving me nuts. Huh? What's going on? Was that a dream? Was I... Oh, that's right. This was Uki's room. I fell asleep in Uki's room. I was on the phone. I called Yume Aozaki, and then they called me. That's right. Serika's voice was calling me. Damn. Suddenly something flew by me and knocked the phone out of my hands. It fell on the floor, its body split open by something sharp. My mind was still hazy as I forced myself to look up at the person holding the shining blade above me. Standing next to the bed, her face filled with desperation, was... who else?
Uki. ダメです。それ以上は気づいちゃいけないです。この世界こそがあなたのタクルさんの現実なんです。
Her voice was as sad and desperate as the expression on her face.
どういうことだ?
Uki closed her eyes just for a moment.
優しい家族、温かい友達、楽しいこと、嬉しいこと、幸せなことだけがずっと繰り返しどこまでも続いている。これが現実の渋谷。これがタクルさんにとっての現実。それでいいじゃないですか。
違う。
I struggled to get up, but my body wouldn't move.
何が違うんですか？
それは。
What was wrong with it? If the dream I'd had was right, I wouldn't like what was waiting for me when I woke up. Compared to that, this was paradise. Just like Uki said, here there'd be nothing but fun things, pleasant things, and happy things in my life. But would that really mean I was alive?
やっぱり。
I finally managed to get the strength in my arms and stomach to sit up.
やっぱりここ現実なんかじゃない。
I was trying to tell myself that. No matter how much I didn't want to admit it, no matter how much I didn't want to accept it, no matter how much I wanted to ignore it. If that was the truth, even if I'd almost died after being stabbed by Yuki's D-sword, as long as I was alive...
やめて。お願いですからやめてください。もうそれ以上辛い思いを味わわなくてもいいじゃないですか。
ウキ。
どうしてなんですか？あなたさえ望めばここはどんな幸せな世界にもなるんです。それなのにどうしてそんな風にせっかくの幸せを壊そうとするんですか？
そんなこと言ったって、夢は夢でしかない。いずれは覚めなきゃいけない。
覚めない方がいい夢だってあります。
Uki looked like she was about to cry.
私はあなたに命に関わるような大きな怪我を負わせてしまいました。もしかしたら二度と今までのような生活はできないかもしれない。たとえ今現実に戻ったとしても、その先あなたを待っているのは辛くて苦しくて嫌なことだらけの人生ですよ。そんなの生きてるって言えるんですか？生きてる意味があるんですか？
The words she said grew in mass and density, creating ripples in my heart. They weighed down heavily upon me, and my mind creaked under the strain. At the same time, the heat and pain from when Uki had stabbed me came rushing back. The feeling of coughing up blood, the feeling of my life flowing out of me, despair shrouding my heart.
そんなの無理ですよ。私には耐えられないです。だから私はこうして新しい世界を作ったんです。タクルさんの望む幸せな世界を作ったんです。
Man, I really do feel bad. We now have two different psychics trying to make everything good for us when it's not what we wanted.
このままこの世界にいた方がタクルさんは絶対に幸せでいられるんです。私だってその方が。
Slowly, Like a slow-acting poison, all my negative emotions came welling forth to hold me back. It was fine to put on a brave face and say that I had to wake up from my dream, but if Uki was right... Even if I did go back to the old world, my body would be half dead already. And Yui, my little sister? She had been killed by the man I thought was my best friend, and now she was gone. Was there anything left for me in the real world? There was nothing but cruelty and coldness. But in this world, I wasn't hurt at all. Yui was here too. There was even a girl who loved me. Was there really any reason I had to go back? Uki's voice was shaking. Tears were running down her pale white cheeks.
私のせいなんです。何もかも私のせい。
ウキ。
私は
Uki started to speak, her head downcast. She told me about herself.
私はまだ小さかった頃、お父さんやお母さんに連れられて不思議な場所に通っていました。そこではたくさんの人たちがお祈りをしたり瞑想をしたりしていました。
I imagined it was some kind of religious facility. Evidently her parents had been involved in some kind of cult.
お父さんとお母さんはとても厳しい人で、私がどうしてそこに行かなければいけないのか教えてはくれませんでしたし、私もそれをおかしなことだって思ったりはしませんでした。ある日、私はあの地下へと連れて行かれました。そしてその後すぐに大きな地震があって、お父さんとお母さんは死んだって言われました。両親の他には親戚は誰もいなくて、行くところのなくなってしまった私はあの地下の部屋で皆さんの面倒を見るようになりました。それも私にとっては当然の成り行きで、どうしてこんなことをしなければいけないのかなんて疑問に思うことはありませんでした。
I remembered when I took her out of that basement. She'd been there since she was very little, and it had been everything she had.
いろいろとお世話をしていると、皆さんはありがとうって言ってくれました。その言葉を聞くととても嬉しくて、すごく優しい気持ちになれました。はあ、この人たちは私を必要と思ってくれてるんだ。私のことを頼ってくれてるんだ。そう思うととても温かい気持ちになれました。
For young Uki, being needed was the only way she felt she had any value in the world. I could see that from how hard she worked at Aoba Dorm. That desire to be needed was the only thing that kept her going.
私は私の周りにいる人が幸せになってくれることが嬉しいんです。私が幸せになることよりも誰かが幸せになる、その方が私にとってはとても嬉しいことなんです。誰かに幸せになってほしい、誰かを幸せにしたい、ありがとうって笑ってもらいたい。私はきっとそのために生まれたんです。それなのに。
Her round eyes filled with tears again.
なのに私はタクルさんにあんなことを。私のせいでタクルさんは私はタクルさんを不幸にしてしまったんです。私にはもう現実の世界でタクルさんを幸せにすることはできません。でもこの世界なら私はタクルさんのことを幸せにすることができます。タクルさんに笑ってもらったりありがとうって言ってもらえることができるんです。だからお願いします。どうかこの世界でタクルさんが幸せになるお手伝いをさせてください。
僕を幸せに。ウキが。
Why, I wonder? The meaning of Uki's words slowly sank in. Here, I could be happy. Here, I could smile.
タクルさん
So maybe it would be okay to stay here. As soon as I started to think so, I began to feel incredibly tired again. Everything started to get hazy. I'm sure this is for the best. Nobody wants to suffer. And there's no difference between reality and delusion anyway. It's all just what your brain is showing you. So it's better to be happy.
タクルさん
If I just let myself sleep.
私が守りますからあなたの幸せをずっと守っていきますから
When I wake up, I'll be happy. Everything started to fade away. A tiny hand rubbed my back. It was Uki's hand, gentle and warm. It would keep me safe. So that.
そうか。
Maybe she was right. If Uki would make me happy, that was fine with me. I slowly sank into the abyss of unconsciousness.
いけません
Suddenly I heard a voice that pulled me back from the abyss. A roar filled the air and a single ray of light flashed. It felt like the void itself was being sliced apart. I struggled to open my eyes and then forced my vision into focus. I saw two people there. One was Uki, who was on top of me, and the other? The other Uki?
ウキが二人
Tuki. The other Uki was holding a huge elegant blade far too big for her little body and using it to tear open a hole in space. The Uki from the other side of the void swung her sword in a flash. I did not expect this. The Uki on top of me leapt back and just barely dodged.
あなた
My mind was having trouble comprehending the fact that I was seeing two Ukis.
何なんだよこれ
I'm seeing double. 4 Ukis. What was happening? What was going on? Was this part of the dream? Or was it real? I was too tired to try and understand. Why were there 2 Ukis? The other Uki lifted her blade and readied it. Uki raised her hand out into the emptiness and plunged it into a crack between dimensions. The quanta formed in the dead spot in my brain. And with the dazzling light, the long flowing blade, the D-sword, appeared in her hand. Oh my god. The two of them stared at each other for a moment. They both moved at almost the exact same time. Wow. A blade was brought down in a flash, like a hawk descending on its prey. The other Uki raised her own weapon to block it. And then the other Uki launched her counterattack. The sword scorched the air as it danced faster than the wind. But her powerful strike was deflected by a strange movement where she held the blade diagonally. Wind, sound, impact. The two switched rapidly between attacker and defender. The two switched rapidly between one place and another. The two switched rapidly in my mind. I couldn't tell which was which anymore.
タクルさん騙されてはダメです
Oh no, it's one of these, but it says Uki another. One of the Uki seemed to be losing slightly. She yelled in a loud voice that didn't sound like Uki at all.
騙されるどういうことだよそれ
彼女が今目の前にいるこの私がさっき話したことは全部嘘なんですだから騙されないでください余計なこと言わないで
A lie? What she just said, that I could live happily in my dreams, that was all a lie?
よく聞いてくださいもしもこのまま彼女の言いなりになったとしてもあなたに幸せはありません
僕に幸せはない
Yeah, well, no, it's not real.
そうですこのままではあなたは妄想の中に溶けてゆくだけそのまま二度と戻ってこれなくなってしまうだけですそれ以上は
Pale fireworks flashed violently in front of me, and rainbow streaks of light burned into my eyes. I tried as hard as I could to think about what the other Ugi, the one that had just appeared, was telling me.
タクルさん、この子の言ってることは嘘です。夢の中ならあなたは幸せになれるんです。
This is the worst.
違います。そんなの大嘘です。
Which was the real her? Who should I believe?
タクルさん、もう一度よく思い出してください。あの時何が起きたのかを。
Then,
あの日何が起きたのかをもう一度。それ以上は。
what happened that day? It was... that day. What happened?
よく自分の心に問いかけてみてください。考えて結論にたどり着いてください。この妄想が本当は誰のものなのかを。
I could sense a door that was half open in the back of my mind. The vision of the past I'd seen started to slowly open that door once more.
ダメです。やめてください。思い出してはダメ。いや、思い出して本当の出来事を、そしてこの妄想が本当は誰のものかを。
What really happened? On that day, tiny little boxes in the shape of a person, dark red liquid flowing out of them, an overwhelming metallic stench. Inside the boxes was...
ああ、どうだ。自分の大切なものを失う気分は。自分の無力さを思い知りながら後悔に苛まれる気分は。
I remember this part. That's what had happened that day.
彼女は俺にとってかけがえのない存在だった。それをお前は見殺しにしたんだ。でもこれでようやく復讐も終わる。
伊藤、お前。
次は宮代の番だ。よく切れるメスと麻酔薬は持ってきたか。
I'd been so angry about Yui's death.
それがなきゃひどく痛くて苦しむぞ。ゆいちゃんみたいにな。
伊藤。
なんだ、泣いて命乞いでもするか。助けてくださいって土下座するか。
お前、本当に。
タクルさん、
The Nuki came,
よかった、見つかった。ゆいちゃんは。
and when she saw what happened to Yui,
いや、
and then she screamed.
なんだよ。
She real booted the D sword,
なんだ。なんだよこいつ。
I remember the D sword flailing wildly, Ito running and screaming.
待てウキ、伊藤にはまだ。
I got between them, and then I...
あ
I reached out my hand,
やめろウキ。
and in my hand was my D sword.
あの時、僕は本能に突き動かされるまま、視界の隅に現れたディソードに手を伸ばして、そしてその手を。僕を刺されたのは僕じゃない。
What?
タクルさん。
Did I stab her?
僕がユキを。
The horrible sensation of ripping through blood vessels and muscle fiber, her body crumpling forward, the sound of her coughing up blood, the thud when she bounced off the pavement, Uki's body turning red. It all came back to me. As the truth of the past came back to me, the Yuki from this reality screamed and collapsed on the cold floor. She started to spasm and vomit up blood.
ユキ。
Her limbs flailed out in impossible directions and froze. It was a slow death, but a certain one. My mouth went wide open in shock as I tried to understand what was happening to her. She reached out her hand into the air, fingers curled as if she wanted to grab something. And then her arm fell, and she stopped moving at all.
ユキ。ユキ。
I remembered. I remembered, even if I wished I hadn't. What I'd just seen was the hidden truth. And because I'd remembered it, the Yuki from this reality had died. All the exhaustion and desire for sleep that had been eating away at my body were gone. I suddenly felt something strange and looked down at my hands. In my right hand was a long, sharp sword. The shining blade was covered in sticky blood.
僕はまた。
思い出してくれたんですね。
The other Uki whispered softly. Her eyes were filled with sorrow as she stared at her own twisted body lying on the floor.
ここはタクルさんが作った世界なんかじゃなかったんです。ここは山添雨季が作り出した世界。私の中の妄想の世界。
It was Uki's.
それじゃあユキは本物のユキは今。
現実の私はタクルさんの隣のベッドで眠っています。
僕の隣で。
No way, are we both alive?
はい。そしてここは消えかかる命の中で旅立つ間際に見る夢の世界。
Oh boy.
ユキの夢の世界。
そう。私の夢の世界を無意識にリアルブートしてしまいました。その夢にタクルさんを巻き込んだまま。
So this world was Uki's dream.
この子は
What a twist. Uki's voice sounded a little sadder.
この子は私がずっと欲しいと思っていた憧れを手にした私でした。
Uki knelt down and silently closed her other self's eyes. And then she slowly stood up and walked over to the desk and opened the drawer. She took out a tiny envelope. It was a pink envelope like a little girl would choose.
覚えていますか？
それは。
It wasn't something from so long ago that I would forget it, and it had left an incredible impression on me. So I remembered it very well. It was the envelope that Yume Aozaki had used to send her love letter.
嘘をついてごめんなさい。
Uki looked a little embarrassed.
あの手紙を書いたのも、そしてあなたの理想の女の子の姿であのお店で待っていたのもこの子。いえ、私だったんです。
Uki was Yume Aozaki? But why?
憧れていたんですね、きっと。自分でも気づいていなかったけど。だからせめて夢の中でもって。
It was a world that any girl might see once in her dreams. But for Yuki, maybe that was what she'd always wanted. For a girl who'd grown up in that dark basement who'd never gotten a chance to go to school.
そうか。
Yume Aozaki. Something clicked in my mind. I was wondering, because, like, yeah, Uki Yamazoe, they sound vaguely familiar. Or, similar. Rearrange the letters and it becomes... Uke Yamazoe. That's clever. The answer had been there all along.
ありがとうございました、タクルさん。
Her eyes were still downcast as she spoke.
私は夢の中でほんの少しでも憧れの日々を送ることができました。
I felt like I knew what Uki was trying to say.
でも、これでもう夢は終わりです。
ウキ。
もうすぐ現実の私は死んでしまうでしょう。
But that's...
でも、その前にタクルさんはタクルさんのいるべき世界に戻ってください。あの人が、久野里さんが言っていました。私が死ねばこの妄想の渋谷はディラックの海に飲み込まれてしまうって。だからタクルさんはその前に早く。
ウキは君はどうするつもりなんだ。
もう時間はありません。
答えになってない。お前はどうするんだよ。
私は。
She tried to continue, but before she could get out the words, the strength left her body and she was forced to the ground.
何？
I quickly ran over to her and grabbed her by the arm and tried to help her up.
何やってんだよ。
タクルさん。
お前も一緒だろ。一緒に戻るんだよ。
No matter how hard the real world was, no matter how far away happiness seemed,
タクルさん。
ほら立てよ。立って一緒に来いよ。
I would take her with me.
ありがとう、タクルさん。
And then Yuki smiled a little.
でも、ダメです。
She quietly brushed my hand away.
私はもう、ここに来るだけでもう、限界だったんです。
何を言って。
She pointed to the D sword in my hand with a shaking finger.
久野里さんが言っていました。ディソードは妄想と現実とをつなぐ橋のようなものなんだって。
そんなことは。
だからそれをしっかりと伝っていけばきっと現実に戻れます。
お前がいれば現実に戻れるんだろ。だったらお前も一緒に。
Uki was sitting on the floor, reaching out a shaking hand. She was reaching for a broken pot. It had shattered during the fight, and the chef Lara was lying on the floor looking sad. Somehow, it seemed like it was just like Uki herself.
タクルさん、この子、ありがとうございました。
そんなの。
It was nothing at all. But before I could say another word, Uki...
嬉しかった。
Uki collapsed to the floor. And then the world started to fall apart. The ground and sky started to roar and shake, and everything was pulled back into a pre-quantum state of possibility. Everything dissolved into ones and zeros and fell apart. The end of the world was inescapable, and it was almost upon me.
ウキ。
I desperately tried to grab her tiny body, but... Her outline started to blur. The matter that made up her body was dissolving like sand being blown away by the wind. It was turning back into ones and zeros, and disappearing as if it had never been there.
ウキ。
I stabbed the D-sword into the floor and clung to it to help myself stay standing. And soon the destruction came for me as well. It felt like my body was being ripped apart. A wave of annihilation enveloped me, and all my senses blacked out. Everywhere I looked, there was nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The void. Or perhaps, was this the Dirac Sea, where all things would someday return? I was wandering in endless void. Particles of light were flowing upward all around me. Even in this form, I could tell exactly what they were. This was Uki. No, that wasn't quite right. It was the memories that made her up. The memories poured into my brain like a rushing torrent. A young Uki. Her parents had brought her to a strange building, and she was sitting there confused as the adults around her bowed their heads low to the floor. A gloomy room filled with cement and metal. Dozens of horrible devices. Experiments. But even then she was smiling when she was with her friends, young Yui and others too. Then the earthquake and the destruction. A sealed room. Screaming adults. Fear of reality and longing. Two colliding desires. We want you to stay pure, innocent, and untainted and take care of us forever. She subconsciously reel-booted that desire. And that's what had happened to her body. Still, she accepted everything, even her own fate. The worlds turned pure white, and began to be rebuilt again. I clutched the D-sword tightly with my fingers, just like Uki had told me.
タクルってば、タクル。のんちゃん、今、声が。
These voices,
タクル、タクル。
they were calling out for me over and over.
だよ。ずいぶんと騒がしいな。
父さん、タクルが目を。
そうか、すぐ行く。
The world began to regain its color.
タクル、わかる？私が誰だかわかる？
わかるに決まってるだろう。クルス。
私は。
誰だっけ？冗談だよ、尾上。
Yo, not cool, dude.
Taku! 痛いって。
こら、意識が戻ったからって飛びつくやつがあるか。絶対安静だぞ。
Dad ran through the curtain separating the beds and pulled Sarika off me, then peered down at my face.
意識もはっきりとしているな。
As he started to give me an exam, I looked down at my hand. It was still in the shape it had been when it was holding the D-sword.
でもよかった。目覚めてくれて。ほんとだよ。どれだけ心配したか。
こいつらずっとお前があっち行っちまわないよう声をかけ続けてくれてたんだぞ。
ありがとう。二人の声聞こえてた。
いいって。私たちとタクの仲じゃん。そうよ。それにこれ以上家族がいなくなっちゃうなんて。
Kursu's voice suddenly cut off. Any more? Was she talking about Yui? And one more person?
ウキ。
I sat up and asked. She'd said she was sleeping next to me.
タクル、よく聞いて。ウキちゃんは。
A cold sweat appeared on my body when I heard those words. It couldn't be. Maybe she was already... I slowly looked around. And there she was.
ウキ。
I could see her resting quietly on the other side of the curtain that separated our beds. Her eyes were shut and there were tubes attached all over her body. I could hear a monitoring device near her, beeping at regular intervals. She was alive. But then why had Kurisu and Sarika acted that way? What did that...
冷静に聞いて、タクル。
Is she brain dead?
のん ちゃん、何も今言わなくても。
いや、いいんだ、尾上。
I kept my eyes on Uki as I spoke.
クルス、教えてくれ。ウキは
I had been ready for it, but when I saw it for real, I still didn't want to believe. But I had to face it anyway. This wasn't the dream world anymore, and she was the one who told me to come back.
ウキちゃんね、一命は取り留めはしたけれど、脳に受けたダメージが大きいって久野里さんが。
はっきり言ってくれ、クルス。ウキは治るのか。
残念だけど、このまま。
She slowly shook her head. Instantly, my heart felt like it was going to freeze. I'm sorry, but I tried to understand the meaning of those words. Uki would never wake up again. She would never talk again. She would never smile again. Never. I forced my aching body out of the bed.
大丈夫。
Sarika and Kurisu rushed to support me, but I waved them away. Like a sleepwalker, I staggered over to Uki's unconscious body. Her breathing was irregular but steady. The machine was beeping. I couldn't see a single scratch on her face. She looked as if she could open her big round eyes and laugh any second. But suddenly I was assaulted by a wave of emotion. I softly touched her cheek. Her silent body was so warm, and I... All I did was cry. For a girl who'd said that other people's happiness was what made her happy, for a girl who'd risked her life to save me,
ありがとうございました、タクルさん。私は夢の中でほんの少しでも憧れの日々を送ることができました。
for the girl who smiled as she said those words. Was there anything I could have done for her? Could I have given her happiness?
この子、ありがとうございました。
I...
嬉しかった。
And the days passed. Many springs and many summers, and many autumns came.
それじゃあ行ってきます。
いってらっしゃい。気をつけてね。
今日もいい天気だな。行こうか、ウキ。
What?
あっちは人が多いからこっちを回ろう。それとも向こうの方がいいか？わかった。それじゃあ向こうから行こう。
Shortly after, Uki's body had recovered to the point where we could take her off life support. But it was only her body that recovered. She didn't talk or laugh. She just stared into space like a doll. Her mind had gone someplace far away and still hadn't come back. Kunosato said it probably never would. And she was probably right. My one wish was that wherever she was, she'd found the world she'd always wanted. All I could do was pray and spend each day with her. It was the only way I could atone.
あ、タク。
I turned around just in time to see Sarika run up to us.
よ
今日もお散歩？
う、まあな。
そっか、いい天気だもんね。
Sarika smiled at Uki and then looked up at the bright sky.
悪いな。最近あんまり一緒にいられなくて。
私のことは気にしなくていいよ。私はタクがそれでよければいいんだし。
Sarika looked at me.
タクはいいんでしょそれで。
It makes me uncomfortable each time an ending does this. Of course, the best thing would be for Uki to get better, but that was too much to hope for now. So I would do what I could for her.
まあ
This was the path I'd chosen.
だったらよし。
Sarika smiled, satisfied at my answer. Ugh. Again, is this okay with you? Ugh.
じゃあ私は行くね。ウキちゃんもまたね。チャオッス。
She said a word she'd probably picked up from someone else, Arimura, and left. I watched her go, and then we started to walk again. We took each step slowly and carefully.
そうそう。それでさ、ユウトがそしたら父さんがさ。
No matter what I said, there was never an answer. But I kept talking, and waiting for the day when she would someday come back. I stopped in front of a small store. I'd spotted a planter, and I'd seen a certain plant lined up in front of the others at the florist. A schefflera. It was the plant that I'd given to Uki as a present for her room.
嬉しかった。
I thought I'd heard her voice and quickly turned to look at her, but I just imagined it.
そうだよな。そんなこと。
Yeah, we never actually got it for her. It's what the dream self would have wanted, so we could get this for the first time for the second time. And then,
ウキ。
eyes like glass beads quivered for a moment. And a single tear ran down her cheek.
ウキ。
She didn't speak. Her expression didn't change. But still, she was there. And someday,
ああ。ウキ。
the world was constantly growing, expanding, and evolving. Even if it left the two of us behind, I'd spend my days with her, and believe that someday she would come back to us. Until then,
僕が君の世話をして生きていくよ。いつかやってくる。君の幸せのために。
I didn't know if that day would ever come, but until then I would keep believing. Always. Man, that was melancholy. Wow. We got an ending for that.
タク、叶えられた？やりたいこと。
Oof. Dream Sky End. That was a lot. And now, if you look at our endings list, there we go. We're getting there. But for now, it is time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We completed Uki's chapter. Or at least completed it in one way. This was a very, very emotional experience. But we do have other options to exercise. We can go negative. We can go for, I guess, bad endings, right? Even with Arimura's ending, we only got one that appeared on the endings list. The bad ending was an incomplete version. I'm assuming Uki has that going on too, but at least this time we'll just be able to see delusions and maybe not go through that very just super emotionally resonant experience again. We'll see what happens. Until next time, everyone.